And welcome in, everybody. Judgemetaltv. Welcome to our recap of our 1993 World Series replay between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies. I was going to say it's been a lot of fun, but there have been times in this series that were not a lot of fun, if I'm perfectly honest about it. There were some things that were very frustrating, to say the least, about the way this played out. But first, let's get into what were the positives of it. It was really cool to get back in here and see some of these players and get to use Lenny Dykstra, Mickey Morandini, John Kruk, Pat Henkin, John Olerud, Joe Carter, Ricky Henderson, Robbie Alomar. You kind of forgot, I should say, I kind of forgot how good some of these players really were. And some of these guys who were my favorites way back when, guys like Wes Chamberlain, who, you know, are not top of the mind kind of players necessarily, but man, you really liked these guys. You really enjoyed watching Wes hit one out of the park, or other folks come to mind where you think, I had honestly forgotten Ricky Henderson was on this team, but Robbie Alomar was such a great second baseman and a great offensive player. Paul Molitor. I mean, these two teams were just loaded with just such really good and memorable players that part of this was so much fun to go through and play this again. Frustrations, well, obviously, if you're listening to this thing, you know that I come at this as a Phillies fan, and my hope was a little bit of redemption for the 93 Phillies. Didn't happen. As you know, 7-game series, 4-3 victory for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I would say some of the frustrations that came through this, honestly, were Darren Daulton just did not have a great series, which happens. That's baseball. 3 for 25. He really wanted Daulton to have a great series just because of who he was and what he meant to the Phillies. Starting pitching and defense was terrible for the Phillies through the whole series. Now, the Phillies got their runs, and they got plenty of hits. You look at the stats, you see these scores, and there are just a lot of high-scoring games. Pitching was spotty at best. Offense was featured. But to me, the difference was, like I said, the starting pitching for the Phillies and defense. Defense, I believe the Phillies made 10 errors in this series as we replayed it. And I think 4, maybe 5 of them were on Kevin Stocker. The ultimate irony of that is that Kevin Stocker was a guy who came in to this season as someone who joined the team because the Phillies needed a defensive shortstop. And they put him out there and they said, just play defense. We don't care what you hit. And in this series, he was terrible defensively. It cost them a lot of runs. Game 1 almost seemed like a statement game. An 11-3 victory for the Phillies. We'll go in here and look at the box score. Jimmy Eisenreich 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. John Kruk 3 hits. Mickey Morandini 3 hits. Mariano Duncan got hit 2 hits, scored 2 runs. Home runs by Eisenreich, Dykstra, and Kruk. 11 runs on 16 hits. Game 2, 7-2. Toronto comes back to even up the series at 1. The big story in this one, Todd Stottlemyre goes to 1-0, 7 innings, 2 runs. Both of them are earned. Just 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. That was one of 2 good starts that he had in this series. Outpitched Curt Schilling. Schilling not bad. Gave up 4 runs, 2 earned, so those errors, that sketchy Philly defense came through in this ballgame and was a factor. Then the series shifts back to Philadelphia, with the series even at 1-1. Danny Jackson took on Al Leiter. The Phillies jumped out 3-0 in the second. Toronto gets a run in the third. It's a 4-1 ballgame through 6, so relatively close game, but then a 3-run 7th. The Phillies add a run in the 8th. They win it 8-1, 8 runs on 10 hits. Offensively, it was a pretty good effort through the roster, as you had Stocker, Kruk with 2 hits. Eisenreich came off the bench with 2 hits. Wes Chamberlain started the game in place of Eisenreich. He hit a huge 3-run home run early in the ballgame. Eisenreich comes in for defense and goes 2 for 2. On the other side, Henderson and Carter were held 0 for 4 each. Danny Jackson was the hero of this game, for me anyway. He was the player of the game. He went 6 innings, scattered 5 hits, just allowed 1 run. with 5 strikeouts. The bullpen, Larry Anderson pitched 2 innings. Bobby Thigpen, again, pitching in this one, but pitching well. Al Leiter, 4 2/3, 4 runs, as the Phillies take a 2-1 lead in the series. Now we go to Game 4. Toronto evens the series up at 2 with a 9-8 victory. But this one could have went the other way. Phillies fell behind 1-0, but then put up 3 in the second, a run in the third, a run in the fourth. And after 4 innings, it was 5-2. With Terry Mulholland on the mound, things looked to be in good hands. But then came the 5th inning. In that 5th inning, after a double by Borders, Pat Henkin, the pitcher, tries to lay down a bunt for a sacrifice. The Phillies go to third on the play, but can't get the out. And that set up a big inning, 5 runs in the 5th. And it's a 7-5 ball game. 2 runs in the 6th that makes it 9-5. The Phillies get 3 in the 7th, but they're going to come up a run short. 9 runs on 13 hits for the winning Blue Jays. The Phillies 8 runs on 9 hits, a 3-hit performance by Lenny Dykstra, and Mickey Morandini comes up short. Pat Henkin went 5 1/3, gave up 5 runs. For the Phillies, Terry Mulholland, 4 2/3, 7 runs. All of them were earned. He was on the hook for the beginning of that big 5th inning. Mickey Morandini was your player of the game in a losing effort. And as we said, 2 runs in the 6th for Toronto. Made it 9-5. 3 runs in the 7th, made it 9-8. But the bullpen shut it down for Toronto from there. They win Game 4, 9-8. So in Game 4, the Phillies miss a chance to go up 3-1 and take control of the series. We get to Game 5, which would be crucial to winning this series. And as you can see, Toronto comes up big in this one. 13-1 to take a 3-2 series lead. This was a rematch of Game 1. Juan Guzman against Tommy Green. Roles reversed in this one, as it was Tommy Green who gave up 7 runs in 5 innings. Guzman, who couldn't get out of the first in the opening game of the series, went 5 strong innings, gave up 1 run. He did walk 6, which is why he didn't last too deep into this game, but 9 strikeouts. Stewart, Timlin, and Castillo gave Toronto 4 shutout innings. If you look at the pitching for the Phillies, you'll see the 7 earned runs allowed by Tommy Green in 5. And then Bobby Thigpen gives up 5 and 2. Ben Rivera pitches 2, gives up a run. It was not earned, but this was a game that the Phillies came into it short-handed, and in this one, the Phillies were just depleted. And once they fell behind 7-1, it was time to save Larry Anderson and company for another day. Ricky Henderson was 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Tony Fernandez scored 3 runs. Robbie Alomar, 3 hits, drove in 5. 13 runs on 15 hits for the Blue Jays. Phil's just 1 run on 4 hits. This one was domination for Toronto. They take the series lead 3-2. We go to Game 6. The series goes back to Toronto. The Phillies are facing elimination down 3-2. They needed some heroes, and this thing got off on the wrong foot. A run in the first, 4 in the third, and it's 5-0 after 3. Toronto with the lead. That went through to the 6th, where the Phillies scored 3 in the 7th, and then 3 in the 8th to take a 6-5 lead. They nailed it down from there to win this one 6-5. 6 runs on 9 hits, 2-hit game for Lenny Dykstra, 2-hit game for John Kruk. He drove in 3 of the 5 runs. John Olerud went 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Had a very strong series. Todd Stottlemyre got the start. Another strong start for him, 6 innings, 3 runs. Not a great start, but by the standards of this series, it was a good start. Kurt Schilling, 5 innings, 5 runs, 4 earned. The bullpen shut things down from there, though. And that's what got the Phillies back into this game. Home runs from Pete Incavilla and John Kruk. And the Phillies rally from 5-0, win this one 6-5. John Olerud, your player of the game in the losing effort, but the Phillies tied it at 3 and lived to fight another day. And then comes Game 7. Rematch, Al Leiter versus Danny Jackson. 2 outstanding left-handers going for both teams. 2 veterans. For the Phillies, Danny Jackson pitched very well in Game 3 in that 8-1 win, so hopes were high coming into this one. But Al Leiter would have something to say about that. Well, we should say Al Leiter and the Toronto offense, because Toronto ends up with 11 runs on 13 hits in this one. A 3 RBI night for Devon White. Paul Molitor had 2 hits. Ricky Henderson 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 walks. On the losing side, Lenny, Pete Incavilla, Dave Hollins, Jim Eisenreich, all with multiple hit games, as the Phillies had 9 runs on 12 hits. Phillies scored 2 in the first. Toronto responds with 4 off of Curt Schilling. Then we go to the bottom of the third. Toronto expands the lead to 6-2, then 2 more in the fourth, making it 8-2. It goes to 10-2 after 5. The Phillies respond with finally getting 3 in the sixth, but then Toronto answers that with a run, making it 11-5. Phillies get 2 in the eighth. They get 2 in the ninth, but come up short. 11-9. Toronto wins the series 4-3, and they are back-to-back World Series champions. Danny Jackson only made it 3 innings in this one, 8 earned runs given up. Ben Rivera came into the game because it was so early and there were just so many tired arms in that Phillies bullpen that they were going to have to pitch at some point. Rivera goes an inning, gives up 2. Roger Mason had a good series. David West, in the end, had a good series. Larry Anderson had an excellent series, but it was just too much as 8 runs off Danny Jackson in the first 3 innings put Toronto up big. The comeback comes short. Al Leiter ended up giving up 5 runs in 6 innings. He just got the win. So not spectacular pitching stats by any stretch of the imagination for Toronto in this one either. Pete Incavilla was your player of the game. Pete hit 2 home runs in this one, both of them off Al Leiter, 1 in the first, 1 in the sixth. Dave Hollins hit his second home run of the series off of Danny Cox. And that was it for Game 7. As we said, 11-9, a wild one to end the series. Ricky Henderson ends up your series MVP. He was 11 for 31 with 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. 400 was the on-base percentage in the series. John Olerud, 12 for 29, 414 average. Joe Carter had a strong series, going 9 for 27. He did not face Mitch Williams in this series, if you're curious about that. Pat Borders had a strong series as well, going 9 for 28. Then on the losing side of things, Lenny Dykstra went 12 for 26, hitting 462. Mickey Morandini was 9 for 20. Jimmy Eisenreich, 10 for 27 with 2 home runs. And John Kruk, 8 for 26 with 2 homers. Pete Incavilla hit 3 home runs, drove in 7 runs. So there's a lot of offense, not a ton of great starting pitching. The bullpens were spotty, but Toronto does repeat history, this time in 7 games with the 4-3 win. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed this replay of the 1993 World Series. Intend to do some more things like this, bring you a pivotal or a key moment in baseball history and replay it. A chance to go back and visit players of the past and bring them to life, put them back on the field once again, which is always a cool thing. So anyway, thanks a lot, and we will see you next time.
Subscribe to my dad.